This past Tuesday, friends, foes, residents, we all gathered to pay our final respects to Mary Cuthbert, who passed away back on February 28th at the age of 77. Mary was a fierce community advocate who fought to bring economic justice, jobs, and educational opportunities to Ward 8. And for more than 20 years, Mary served on the Ward 8 Democrats Executive Committee in various roles, including vice president. And during this time, she also represented Ward 8 as a committeewoman on the DC Democratic Party. Mary's impressive list of service to the district is too lengthy to list, but her leadership roles include stretches as vice president of the Ward 8 Democrats, as I just mentioned. She was also a committee member of the DC Democratic State Committee. She was president of the Congress Heights Community Association, president of the 7th District Citizens Advisory Council, and she spent 34 years as an advisory neighborhood commissioner in Ward 8's Congress Heights community, where she also served as chairwoman, to name just a few. She also served on the Redevelopment Advisory Board for St. Elizabeth's East Campus. Mary was beloved by so many in our community for various reasons. And she served as a friend or a mentor to many elected leaders and residents alike in Ward 8 and throughout the district. So some of those friends are here with us right now to offer some reflections on that. Let me just introduce some of those people for you now. You have Philip Pannell, Sandra Seegars, Cora Masters Barry, Jarin Hill-Lockridge. We also have Wanda Lockridge as well. And then we also have other people who might want to chime in. Those who are watching, we'll certainly will take your comments, as we've already seen some come in, and we may even take your comments live as well. But I just want to thank you all so much. I know it was short notice to reach out to all of you to ask you to be a part of this reflection on Mary Cuthbert. And so, Philip Pannell, I want to start with you. We had talked about Mary just over the years, and even most recently, I know she was a buddy of yours for many years. And so, Philip, I wanted to just ask you to start off with offering some reflections on Mary Cuthbert.
Oh, well, thank you, President Troy, and good afternoon, Ward 8 Democrats. First of all, in grand Ward 8 style, I was raked over the coals for not attending Mary's funeral, but I just want you all to know that I was at Bethlehem Baptist Church at 8:30 in the morning, and I was there before the hearse arrived, and I was the first to sign the book. I had to attend a critical meeting regarding my job. And I'm sure Mary would have understood, and I would hope the folks who were taking roll call and inventory on me would do likewise. Mary ran with me 3 times. I'm the first vice president. She was, just great to work with. The thing about Mary is that she could be an absolutely wonderful person to be on your side and an absolute terror to be on your behind. Mary called me an MF so many times that I had to actually check my my birth certificate to see if it was on it. And by the way, my Democrats, MF did not stand for my friend. But Mary loved the Democratic Party, and I remember the time when I said, "Well, Mary, you need to expand beyond the Ward 8 Democrats," and that's when she ran with Wanda Lockridge, Brad Lewis, and myself to be on the state committee. Mary really knew how to stick the knife in me and twist it. I will never forget the time in 2009 when I had to go to New York to take care of my mother, and I was gone for 4 months. And those of you who know me know that the Anacostia Coordinating Council boat ride is something that I really work hard on every year. So I had to miss it. And I'll never forget, right after the boat docked, Mary called me in New York to inform me that the first boat ride that I had missed was the absolute best boat ride that they had ever had, and so that definitely helped to keep me in touch with my insignificance in the universe. The Mary was the epitome and the embodiment of the first fundamental rule of community engagement, and that is you have to show up. Mary was completely responsible and dependable. There was no CPT with Mary. She was always on time. And also, if a meeting had been announced to end at a certain time, we could always depend on Mary to give her signature motion to adjourn. Um, uh, Mary always talked about her mode of transportation, which was BMW, your bus, metro, and walking. But I want you all to know that Mary actually had a driver's license. And I will never forget during the time, and this was years ago, when Mary, there was a small group of us who used to go out for Sunday brunch, and then we would catch a play or a movie. And Mary proudly showed us her driver's license. And I said, "Oh, this is great." I said, "You can, I told her, I said, you can drive us back." So Mary got behind the wheel of my car. I was with Robert Yeldell and Hannah Hawkins and everything, and our hearts were in our throats. And that was, the first, only, and last time that I ever experienced her driving skills. So I'm so glad that she went back to a BMW. Mary had a really Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of thing working, where she could be absolutely wonderful and then absolutely terrible. I mean, sometimes she did some things that were off the charts, and I'm sure that those of us who've been involved with the Ward 8 Democrats remember the time that she referred to a member of the Ward 8 Democrats as poor white trash. Which that definitely went viral. But in all fairness, she did apologize at a meeting to the person at Washington Highlands, and was reported in the Post. Even though Mary would have never been selected to be the head mistress at any charm school, Mary could really turn it on at times. We should all recall that she worked at a Players Lounge, or what is now known as Georgine's restaurant, and she was as sweet as a 10-pound bag of sugar. Of course, when your tips are dependent upon y'all have behind on having a good attitude, it helps, to be charming at all times.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
On a personal note, um, Mary was a very good friend of mine. I am a childless only child. And so friendship means everything to me. I will never forget the time when Mary donated toys to an event that I was doing. Those of us who know Mary remember that her husband and daughter were killed in a car accident, and she had kept her daughter's toys for many years, but she called me up. She says, "I want to give them to you." I'll never forget. It was around 3 years ago when I picked her up to run some weekend errands, and she slipped $100 in my pocket, my shirt pocket. And I said, "Mary, why are you doing this?" And and she told me she can never forget the time when she kind of fallen on the hard times, that I opened up an account for her at Lips Market where she could get her cigarettes, her dog food, and everything.
Philip,
And she said,
Philip,
"Okay,
I'm gonna let you answer that, but I want to bring in some other voices.
okay." I
But
just want to, I just want to finish to say that Mary, even though she was a good friend, she was a tough friend, but I really loved her. And when my mother died in New York, and I walked into the church service, there was Mary sitting there. So to end, Troy, I just want to say, it reminds me of the Langston Hughes poem saying, I loved my friend. There's nothing more to say. The poem ends as soft as it began. I loved my friend.
That's very moving, and you know, I know that you guys were very close. And I remember one time when she had said something. Well, first of all, the MFer thing, which we won't spell out here, but I think we were all MFers at some point. I know I was several times, and I think one of the times when I was an MFer, I said, I'm going to roll out of the Ward 8 Democrats. I don't need to be, you know, listen, I already got trauma. I don't need more trauma. And Philip, it was you that said, it's okay. Just, you know, that's her sometimes. She'll be okay. You're doing a good job. Don't worry about it. And I said, okay. But yes, good point there. I want to bring in our former First Lady, Cora Masters Barry. Thank you for being here, Mrs. Barry. I know that that you know Mary very well too, and your husband in particular. I'm sure there's some stories there that you could share with us too. Oh, you're muted.
It's better?
Yeah, yeah.
Good morning. I mean, good afternoon, everyone. So I don't think it's common knowledge that Mary and I were good friends, but we were very good friends. I considered her probably my best friend in Ward 8.
Wow.
I listen to the stories, especially those that Phil told. And as I listen, I think of, you know, so what? Mary's a tough person. And I'm sure if she was a man, there'd be a different kind of eulogy. But what you have to judge her for is her results. And she got them. No, I was not blessed with the time for her to call me a MF, but she definitely let me know what was on her mind at all times. My experience with Mary, albeit the political stuff, everything you talked about, the Democratic Convention, the Ward 8 Dems and all of that, and in particular the woman that she called poor white trash. Now, I'm gonna defend her on that. Here's the problem. It was her way of saying what you are doing is not in the best interest of our people. She just reduced it down to that. And I was supposed to take her somewhere one day, and a reporter from the city paper was following up on that particular story. And so I called her, and she used to live around the corner from me at these apartment complexes on MLK, if everybody remember. And I said, Mary, I'm coming around to get you so we can go. And she said, I can't come out my door because the city paper reporter is standing outside. I don't want to come out. I said, well, just hold on. So I drove around there, did a U-turn, put up in front. I saw the guy waved him down. I said, what you doing? He said, I'm looking for Mary Cuthbert. I said, oh yeah, I saw her. She right up at Players. Go get her. I just saw her going up there. He ran out and I called her, said, coast is clear, come on out. And we just laughed about it and moved on. But Mary was an advocate. What I'm not hearing, I hear advocate for the community, and I heard Phil's story about her giving him money and all he did for her, but she was a selfless, generous soul. She, more than anybody in this ward, supported what we did with the kids from day one. When our kids was doing a bazaar, selling their stuff from the sewing program, Mary took us to her job. The kids sold their stuff at her job. She did that 3 years in a row, and they made hundreds of dollars. Everything we did, she either supported it or she got other people to come support it. She was a very generous person, and she didn't just love the politics of Ward 8, she loved the people of Ward 8. And she did her philanthropic, beneficial kinds of acts on a very low-key basis where nobody knew or she didn't advertise it. We were able to honor her at our last gala year before she died. And I'm so glad we did. It meant a lot to her. So as our friendship, I found her to be bright. I found her to be courageous. Y'all can call it whatever you want to call it. I found her to be fearless. I found her to be kind. I found her to be generous, and I found her to be quite intuitive and had a lot of good discernment. And people, some people, because of Mary's approach, didn't hear what she was saying. And that was a mistake. If Mary told you something, she would say it in an absolute kind of a way, and it's easy for you to just ignore, well, that's just Mary talking. That was a mistake. And I've warned several people, no, forget how she did it. But she told you something that you needed to know. So her wisdom, I don't hear people talk about that a lot. She was wise and she shared it. And so when I think about Mary, I think about my friend, my dear friend, who was around, and not exactly even maybe a year, the same age. And I would get upset with her because one of her characteristics was she was stubborn. So I'm trying to get her to do something and she wouldn't do it. And I'd say to her, oh, you're just a stubborn old lady. And she would just fall out laughing because we're the same age. So she had a sense of humor. So I find her to be a wonderful person, and she will leave a hole in my life. And we had a big event last night at the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center. And for those of you who attended, there was a program. And in the program, we said, in loving memory of Mary Cuthbert, who was always here for us. And it was a picture. And so I count her as one of my very dear friends. I miss her. And yes, she was close to Marion, and she was the one that I designated to speak at his funeral at Temple of Praise, because she knew him, understood him, supported him, and was always right there. She didn't go hot and cold with him and go off on him. She loved him. And so I chose her to do that because that was an honor in their relationship. So I just sum it up by saying she's, how people say people are truly one of a kind. They broke the mold. Mary Cuthbert, she was gangster, and I loved her. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, such great reflections, Mrs. Barry. One of the things I wrote down that you said, so what, she was tough, so what? She got results. And I think that's why most people still loved her regardless, because she got results. And some of the things you describe or adjectives you use is bright, courageous, fearless, intuitive, and of great discernment. And those are all very important aspects when you're dealing with people. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you offering those comments. And, I thought it was a blessing to get cussed out by Mary Cuthbert. That meant you mattered. That meant, something you were doing wasn't quite adding up. So the fact that you hadn't got cussed out, I think that's great.
I'm finishing up the Zoom. Give me a second.
The fact that you haven't been cussed out by her, I think that's wonderful. I don't have the same result.
I didn't say I wasn't cussed out by her.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just the MFer. Okay, I got you.
and I welcome it because we're two of a kind, and I plead to that. We iron sharpens iron. So it was just part of the relationship. I felt good about it. It didn't bother me at all.
Gotcha. Well, I know you have to leave early. We thank you so much for coming by and being part of this reflection of Mary Cuthbert, and we'll be in touch with you soon and shortly. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
For sure. Hey, I want to bring in Jarin Hill-Lockridge. Jarin is someone who really was like a goddaughter for Mary, to Mary. And, Mary loved her kids, and Jarin and I had a great conversation outside of her funeral this past Tuesday. And I wanted to make sure that she was here today to just share a little bit about her reflections on Mary Cuthbert. Hey, Jarin. And who are you holding there?
This is Mom. Janae. Say hi, Ward 8.
Hey, Janae.
So this is Janae, one of the twins, one of the Lockridge twins. Oh, and here's the other one. Here's Janae. She wants to come say hi too.
It's Janae?
Janae and Janae.
Janae and Janae. Hey, Janae. Hey, Janae.
Hi. Hi. Yeah.
Okay, can y'all go back in there with Daddy for a second? Okay, just for a second.
Like
so we talk about Miss Mary and the amazing work that she did. I had the great fortune of coming into Ward 8 with a baby on my hip, similar to like what I'm doing now. And that was Stefan Lockridge II, right? The son of her godson. And I guess fortunately for me, because I came in as a mother, I never was an MFer, right? When we talk about that soft spot that Mary had for the kids, it was maybe because I was a mom that, you know, she gave me a different level of grace and a different level of understanding. You know, Grandma Mary is kind of how my kids refer to her. You know, Miss Mary is an amazing woman. Never missed my kid's birthday, right? She would give the twins $2 bills on their birthday because it's two of them. And just a big, big, big heart. People talk about how spicy she was and, you know, how aggressive she may be at times. And I have to agree with Miss Barry. If she was a man, I'm not sure that it would come across that same way. I'm not sure that the response would always be the same. But I'll say that for me, she was always my sweetheart. She was always my sugar. You know, y'all know I'm not a native Washingtonian. There are a couple of people who are also not native Washingtonians who made great impact here in the Great Ward 8. Mary Cuthbert being one of them. And the way that I see it, if I can get somebody that's sweet, I mean, that's spicy to be sweet to me, then I must be doing something all right, right? When we talk about the level of just raw that she had, when it came to the kids in the Great Ward 8, it was always her soft, sweet spot. And so I'm really appreciative that I had the opportunity to see her with children, see her, hey, you know, and she always understood, right? If y'all know me, y'all know I always have my babies on my hip. And Miss Mary would be like, bring me that baby, bring that baby over here. I can remember some of our greatest times up on the avenue, jazz or having a band or art all night, being out there till 3 a.m. I had no idea she used to work at Players. Hey, hold on, okay. Having no idea she used to work at Players, right? We used to just have a good time, but to hear the fun memories, to know that the stick that she ran with, I'm just trying to walk with here, and to continue living in her legacy. You know, one of the things I joked with Troy and the other group about after her services is that sometimes, like Miss Barry said, Mary would say something, but you wouldn't always hear it. So when she added that little MFer on it, you know, that added an extra little spice to it. And that would get your attention. That would always get your attention. So, you know, I'm gonna remember the way to add spice in Miss Mary's honor. And thank you, Troy, for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Jarin. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing the twins as well, having them be part of this. You know, I was writing down some things I heard you say that Mary Cuthbert was spicy. And that, I mean, we're talking about jalapeno, habanero times 10. But certainly she was spicy. And you also said that not everyone who work hard in Ward 8 or who have worked hard in Ward 8 are not from DC or from Ward 8. But you know, if you come in and you do the work, you know, you're recognized for being that person. And so that's important to anybody who feel like, you know, they're out of place because they just moved to DC or just moved to Ward 8, or maybe we just expanded to include your area to be part of Ward 8. But just because you're not from here doesn't mean you still can't do the work here. And then to your final point, she had a soft spot for children. And that's the thing that is, I think, most interesting about Mary, is that she would call you an MFer for sure, and cover the kids' ears on that one. But whenever she was around kids, she had a very soft spot with them and had a gentle hand. So
may I say something about Mary?
Great insights there. Thank you.
Hold on, he'll get to you.
Thank you so much, Jarin. Hey, Sandra, we're actually running out of time, and I apologize, but I want to get to Sandra, and then I saw that Teresa had something to say as well. So welcome, SS.
Mine is very brief.
Yeah.
All the things they said before me, okay, ditto. My relationship with Mary was, we were road dogs. Her, Mary, Wolf, Muhammad, and I. And Mary and I talked about our families, where she's from. I didn't meet her whole family, but I know her whole family. But she served her time here, and she served it well. But I have to say, I'm feeling some type of way right now, because we should have done this before she died. So all the people that was before you on the Ward 8 Dems, especially in the leadership position, maybe you could do a 5-minute take every month to let them speak before they die. So give them their roses or their flowers before they die. Mary will rest in peace, and I'll miss her. That's it.
Well, that was a little too brief there. I was still writing down what you were saying, Sandra, but I respect what you're saying there. That and that's always the case. When people pass, we always reflect on how we could have given people their flowers when they were still with us. Well, one of the things I will say, the council, the DC council, they honored her, with a very special proclamation a couple of years ago, and others have done the same thing as well. But I agree with you. We should always remember those who come before us, so that we're not thinking about them in the past, but in the present tense. So
Yes.
I do appreciate that comment, Sandra. Thank you so much for being here today.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to get to Teresa, and then we have to move to our women's panel. And I know that I see Wanda and Sheila are here. We're going to let you guys talk about Mary in our next panel discussion. But Teresa, go right ahead real quick.
Yes.
Comment.
Hello, everyone. I'd just like to say.
Come on camera at all?
I don't see how to get on camera.
Okay, well, we can hear you fine, so go right ahead.
Okay. So I'd like to say that Mary was fiery, bold, outspoken, not afraid of anything. She encouraged me. Actually, she pushed me into being active in Ward 8 Dems. I was sitting real comfortable at a meeting one day, and I heard that they needed a recording secretary. So all of a sudden, I heard this voice that said, "Teresa, get up there." And I'm like, "What?" She said, "Go on up there. You come to all the meetings, go on up there." So the next thing I know, I was making an appeal to be a Ward 8 secretary, out-of-body experience. And I wound up serving 4 years as recording secretary. She also spoke on behalf of my applying for the Ward 8 Democratic Woman of the Year, and I won that too. I thanked her for her encouragement, and mine is different because Mary actually liked me. I don't know what that means, but she had said that if she got on a committee, she would want me to be a part of it. So I admired her being outspoken. It was scary sometimes what she did. I remember Michael Brown was running for something, and she, in front of him, was telling people not to vote for him. So people understood Mary. I admired her being outspoken, and she was who she was, and I thanked her while she was alive for what she did. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, for that. By the way, we still have an opening for a recording secretary. We would love to welcome you back if you're interested.
I ditto that.
We can talk offline.
I triple that.
4 years I did that.
I know.
Come on and do 2 more.
It was Mary who told me that we don't let you go here. That you basically, once you're in. So I'm gonna actually I think I'm gonna hold on to that as well, Teresa. But no, thank you for those comments. Very gracious of you.
Well, I certainly agree with all of the comments that have already been made. In terms of Mary Cuthbert, my heart goes out to the family. I remember meeting her at the DC Democratic State Committee meetings and saying to myself, wow, this woman is something else. She was a trailblazer. She was really unbossed, just like Shirley Chisholm. She was unbossed, and she was full of wisdom, just like Mrs. Barry said. So I too would put her in that same category as someone that we should celebrate.
I learned so much from Mary Cuthbert. In 40 years, I've been through the fire with her. I agree with everything that many people said about her. They talked about many things, her being a trailblazer. They didn't talk about her fashion. She was Miss Congress Heights. And when you walked into the room and you saw Mary, she was a proud woman. She would walk in there and she would strut in the room. And so it was no mistaking when Mary came into the room. So I adore her, Mary. May your soul rest in heavenly peace.
And that's how we honor Mary. There's some wonderful women in our history that we can honor, but Mary Cuthbert was one of those for me, and she will continue to rest in power.
On behalf of the Ward 8 Democrats, we want to extend our deepest condolences to Mary's family, some of whom I had a chance to engage with at the funeral We want to also thank and send out, well, we want to send our condolences to Mary's neighbors, her friends, and many of her elected colleagues. You all are in our thoughts, and may her memory be a blessing to all who are mourning. We know that wherever your spirit is right now, Mary, based on what we've heard here today, is that you're giving them hell. And of course, we can expect nothing less. So thank you to Mary Cuthbert, and thank you all who were here to share your thoughts and memories on her.